Hi everyone, I've been wanting to film a favourites video for a while now and I thought it would be fun to do my April favourites before the month ends. So I'm going to show you several different things that have really inspired me this month, and I'm going to start with a colour palette of colours I'm just really enjoying at the moment. So this is just an example of some of the paints that I feel I'm really inspired by. So I'm going to swatch those for you so you can have a look at them, but you can see them all along the top here. And I'm going to use a brush that is actually one of my favourite brushes this month, and it's this one. It's the Arte Prolene 3/8 of an inch flat brush, and I'm really liking this for swatching at the moment. So I've been using this quite a lot because I've been doing a lot of swatching. By the way, for those of you who've been asking for actual art videos, there will be some art videos coming soon where I work on some new paintings. I am working on paintings. I have a lot in progress that I'm not showing you at the moment because I'm in a period of experimentation and sometimes I just want to do it off camera. So that's why I've been sharing all of my art materials this month. And you haven't seen as much in the way of actual art, but we will get to that very soon. But I'm just going to swatch these colours now and you'll be able to see what a gorgeous colour palette this is. So this is the colour palette of 10 colours I'm really liking together at the moment. I discovered how much I love these when I was swatching out my entire collection of watercolour tubes onto pieces of paper so that I could decide which palettes they're going to go into. So that's a series of videos that is going to be coming up where I'll be making watercolour palettes, different themed palettes, and also one main palette with all of my favourite colours in, my most used colours and good mixing colours and so on. So when I was swatching the paints out, I realised just how much I loved these 10 paints together. So from left to right, on the top row we have Winsor & Newton Rose Dore, Winsor & Newton Potter's Pink. These are both the professional range of watercolours. Daniel Smith Quinacridone Rose, Schmincke Horadam Perylene Violet, Schmincke Horadam Tundra Pink, which is a really stunning colour. It's one of their super granulating colours, as is this one down here. This is the forest blue. But we'll start over here. This is Daniel Smith Payne's Grey, Daniel Smith Lunar Violet, Daniel Smith Fuchsite. Then, as I said, that's the Schmincke Horadam Forest Blue and Daniel Smith Rare Green Earth. I think this would make a really nice botanical palette. I don't really do much botanical work, but it kind of inspires me to want to do some. So I have swatched this out in my little Etchr sketchbook. This is the Everyday Sketchbook, which I'm also really loving at the moment. The only thing I don't like about this sketchbook, and it's literally the only thing, is that it doesn't really lay flat. The pages do want to keep coming up, which is a bit of a problem when you have lots of wet paint and it tends to run if you don't hold the page down. But you could use a clip here. I think I might have to find one of my clips and just start using that with this sketchbook. But it has watercolour paper, it's really nice quality, and this gorgeous cloth cover, and also this little pocket at the back, which I am using for quite a few different things, little information leaflets and colour charts and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm loving this. So I guess you could say this is another favourite of mine this month because I've been using this a lot Speaking of sketchbooks, this is my favourite sketchbook. I have several of these. This is a brand new one in a gorgeous coral colour. This is the Royal Talens Art Creation sketchbook. They're really nice quality, not very expensive. I think this one cost me maybe £6, something like that. And it's very, very similar to the Moleskine sketchbooks. The paper is this kind of natural white, sort of slightly creamy colour. You get a lot of pages. The paper is quite thick. I have actually painted on it, but I mainly use it for dry media. It will buckle a little bit if you paint on it, especially if you use quite a bit of water. But it's similar in quality and style to the Moleskine sketchbook, which is about 3 times the price of this one. The only thing you don't have is the pocket in the back, which doesn't really bother me because in my Moleskine sketchbooks I wasn't really using it like I do with the Etchr sketchbook, where I'm doing watercolour swatches and things. When I just am drawing, I don't tend to use the pockets at the back, so it doesn't bother me that it doesn't have that like the Moleskine, but it has this little elastic to keep it together, and it has a little ribbon. And yeah, really like these, would recommend them. I've actually switched from using Moleskine to using these, and I love that they're so much cheaper than the Moleskine, but the quality is comparable. One of the other paints I'm loving this month is the Golden Acrylics Jenkin's Green. Now this is a recent paint for me. I only got this I think maybe about a month ago, and so far I'm loving it. I'm going to insert some footage here where you can see a landscape in progress, one of my landscapes on canvas, and I just wanted to share with you how I'm using this green and how it looks when you mix it with Payne's grey and titanium white. I'm finding that this green mixes so well, makes beautiful mixes. I'm really fussy with greens, so I don't tend to like yellowish greens. I like greens with a slightly grey tone to them, or if they look slightly bluish, I really like that. So this green, so far, I'm really impressed with it. I found also you don't really need to use very much, so I think golden paints are good in that regard. They do tend to be a little bit more expensive for us here in the UK. Because they're an American brand, but I did manage to get this at Jackson's when they had a bit of a sale on them, so I got a few pounds off. And yeah, I think this is going to be a staple green for me now. I'm really loving it. Another thing I'm loving this month is, well, this is kind of like a 3-in-1 really, because I'm loving these palettes I got from Amazon. I'm loving my new label maker, which is the little Dymo label maker. You probably remember these from, I don't know, several decades ago. You have the black tape and you can punch out the letters and make your own labels. I love this slightly retro look they have. I got that from Amazon for like £12 something, so it wasn't terribly expensive, and you can buy the separate reels of tape. You can get it in different colours, but I stuck with black, and I did buy it essentially to label all of the palettes that I'm going to be making, but I'm going to use it for all sorts of other things in my office and studio as well. But yeah, the palettes themselves, they came from Amazon, and they're just a classic metal watercolour palette. We'll just take that out. I'll show you that in a second, because we'll talk about the handmade watercolours briefly that are inside this. But yeah, so it opens like this, and you have mixing areas on either side. You can choose to keep this section free to put your paintbrushes in, but I'm actually filling it with paints. I realise if you turn them on their side, then you can fit more in there, which is what I'm going to do, because I think this primarily will be a studio palette rather than something I'm going to travel with. The classic look of these palettes I think is really nice. They allow you to curate your own selection of paints, so you can really make a personalised palette. What I'm going to be doing, I've bought actually several of these because I'm going to be pouring all of my tube paints into these little either full pans or half pans, and then I'm going to be making my own palettes. Some of them will be themed palettes. I'm going to have one larger palette that's going to be a good mixing palette. It will contain all of my favourite colours. So yeah, this will be an interesting, I think, project and an interesting series of videos to show you the process of all of that and what goes into making my watercolour palettes. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've been saving up all of the various bits I need to do it, and I've been kind of watching other videos to see how other people do it. But yeah, I started with the handmade paints. These were bought mainly from UK Etsy sellers, and they already came in the little pans, so I could just slot them into this palette. And I've also made a little swatch card. This is how they're laid out in the palette, so I don't forget what they are, how they look. Paints always look so different in the pan to how they look on the paper. So I've got all of the names of the paints on the back, and in brackets a little reminder of who made them so I don't forget. I also have some smaller ones like this. I have some in pink, some in black, and that's how they look inside without any of the paints in. So you basically fill your pan and then you pop it in there, and you can grip those together a little bit to hold it once you've got the pans in place. I also have been using, just to show you quickly, I did mention this in another video, but I've been using these little self-adhesive magnetic dots. I pop them on the bottom of the plastic pan, and it keeps them from rattling around in there. It keeps them nice and stable. So yeah, that's how they look. And so this is another thing I'm loving this month. I bought pretty much all of the palettes from Amazon. One large palette I bought from this one, by the way. I'll bring it in so you can see. This one I bought from Jackson's. The little bird sticker is by Particle Press. I had that and I thought it would look so cute on here. And finally, this is something else I'm loving this month. It's not art material related, but it is something that I'm keeping in the studio to inspire me. It's a little vintage book called More Birds and Their Eggs. I'll just show you inside briefly because it's so lovely. I've been wanting to do some watercolour bird's egg paintings, so this will definitely be a good reference and could potentially inspire some of those. But I love vintage books. I do have quite a few of them in the studio. They always inspire me, and I use them as reference, like for example if I want to look at the particular shape of a bird, or perhaps even flying birds, nests and so on. And I just love the illustrations in this. Somebody actually suggested that I share the books that I have in my studio, any art books that I love. So I may be making a video in the next couple of months or so about my book collection, and that will include art books and also just vintage books that I use as reference. I really like vintage illustrations. I think it gives you a slightly different perspective, a slightly different look. Can make you think about your own work in a different way. But I think it's really important in the studio to have things around that inspire you. And this little book, I got it for £3, and yeah, it's just so lovely. So there we go. That's another thing that's been inspiring me this month. It seems quite apt for April as well, seeing as there are lots of birds and their eggs out there in the garden at the moment, and I want to work on some new bird paintings. So yeah, looking at that really gets me inspired. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first favourites video. I might make it a monthly thing, or even maybe every couple of months, or maybe every season, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below whether you enjoyed this. I hope it's given you some ideas. I kind of really like watching videos like this, and you never know what you're going to discover. So I think it's really nice when people share what's inspiring them and what they're loving. So let me know what's inspiring you this month as well, because I love to hear your suggestions. I get so many good suggestions here from the community. I love that you share with me your favourite art supplies, and then I go and check them out, and sometimes I will buy them and they become my favourite supplies as well. So yeah, let me know what's inspiring you. Anyway, take care everyone, stay creative, and I will see you again soon for another video. Hopefully I'll be making some watercolour palettes in the next one.